Whether it's a form of personal catharsis or an opportunity for the people he photographs to reveal intimate accounts that would otherwise remain behind most firmly closed doors of this Norfolk town of Dereham, 15 miles west of Norwich, Jim Mortram's chance introduction with photography spawned a documentary passage. Small Town Inertia reveals portraits of people and their stories within a 3-mile radius of the photographer's home, an honest and unwavering true work of photojournalism from a man with no other agenda, it seems, than to care.
It was never an intention to involve myself any other side than behind the camera. However, through shooting these stories, you invariably become incredibly emotionally involved. The challenge is not to permeate the stories or leave your imprint within them, and that's been quite difficult.
You sort of feel like you're a ghost, and you're like on the far side of the universe, and the world really doesn't exist anymore, or perhaps it doesn't exist. Or perhaps, like I'm gone, I'm really dead and I'm a spirit, and this is some sort of parallel purgatory or whatever, That's how it's felt ever since I've been blind.
I'm hesitant of calling them subjects because these are people. But
absolutely,
how many people do you currently visit, photograph?
Upwards of 15, I should think, and 20 waiting.
Is that transient? Do you leave some stories and come back?
Yeah, you have to. Okay. Yeah, because I'm limited by the time that I get to shoot. I'm working 60 hours a week as a carer myself, looking after my mother. So I get maybe 4 or 5, top 6 hours a week out to shoot, if I'm lucky.
And then they put me on the treadmill and done 15 minutes on there, but I had an epileptic fit. And I don't know when a fit's coming on, I cut my head and the side of my face.
Is Jim a friend or is he a photographer?
Oh, he's both actually. He's a friend and a photographer. And we keep in touch on Facebook as well. And
has he made a difference to your life doing this?
Yeah.
When I began, I didn't know anyone that I've now known for upwards of 5, 6, 7 years. And it's a real challenge, but ultimately a blessing, to now regard a lot of the people that I document as my close friends.
Well, I was going to ask actually, do you feel enriched because you're now a friend, or do you feel enriched as a photographer?
Oh, I feel enriched because I feel humbled because I'm considered a friend, and I feel humbled that I'm allowed into people's lives to do this, to help facilitate this.
But do you still see yourself as a photographer?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, of course. It's my partner says I'm like a carer to 30 people. She might be right, but I figure that's what you do if you're part of a community, because that's what I wasn't when I began the series. I wasn't a part of a community. I was part of an amazing family unit that was and is caring for somebody that needs care and love and attention, but what I was lacking was any sense of being a part of my community. And I guess when you talk about motivations, it was never to be a photographer or a documentary maker or to get accolades for that. I just wanted to be a part of my community.
I'm supposed to be going. Sorry, I'll get your way. Hello, mate, you alright? Yeah, no, thank you. Right. Well, perhaps have a glass up first. Give a hand.
Oh, that was good.
Simon, I met with another Simon as I stopped off after shooting another story, stopped off for a drink, a Coke in a pub, and I had my camera with me, and I think I overheard them talking. We got talking, asked them about the camera, and I said, oh, my mother's epilepsy, and I found out that not only was Simon epileptic, but the other Simon's wife was epileptic, and that was it. From there, I think we went that day or the next day and started. Yeah.
I said to Jim, why don't we do a book for it, which I got here, which is Epilepsy Action. And that's got some pictures inside it, and I wrote some bits and pieces of my story.
I used to get bored just watching TV and just doing nothing, and so I thought I'd sort of like go to the gym and sort of like do something interesting.
So do you remember me? Do you remember me going into the Reds?
Yeah.
But I'd not met Simon before that, had I?
No.
See, this is the thing about knowing two Simons. That.
You only met me through Shawnee Boy.
That's right.
No, Shawnee Boy. I only met you through Shawnee Boy.
I miss him, you know. Some reporting is done with great intention and is done with some semblance of respect, you know, for not just the subjects but the people within the subject that's been discussed. There is, however, a despicable trade in stereotyping and scapegoating and marginalising. Benefit Street is a really easy touchstone, and that kind of programming is makes me fucking furious. How could it not? Anyone with any semblance of care and compassion, because you know, you tell a story, you got to make sure, at the very least, you don't just tell one side. You know, in a show like that, you know where it's coming from, you know why it's being made, and it's not being made to reflect the truth of people on benefits that, for example, are working as carers that save this country billions. Because if every carer decided to walk away from their responsibilities, it would stop the country instantly. The reason they don't, and the main reason they don't, is because most people that are carers, for example, just one of that whole kind of gamut of people on benefits, but it's the one that I feel most inclined to talk about because it's what I do. The reason most people don't walk away from their carer duties is because they're caring for loved ones.
Then my mum died on the 4th of Feb 2010. Ripped my heart out. Didn't cry at her funeral. Which knocked me for 6. I do admit that has knocked me for 6. She was there for me. No matter what, I could always say that she was there for me.
Photography, when I really discovered, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Okay. In life, you're always, one supposes, searching for that thing that's your thing. Right? I mean, I'd been to art school, I'd painted, I loved it. A lot of ego involved in that. I played in bands for a long time, made music, a lot of ego involved in that. Photography, I love principally for what I said earlier. The instructions are so simple with a traditional camera, okay? The lens points one way, you're the other side of that lens, and it's pointing out from you. It's one of the rare art forms, if it is an art form, that has that kind of built-in instruction to it, where you're shooting out. It's out from the self. And that's really, really important to me. Sometimes we can all get trapped in introspection, and everything's always about us. And the thing that I love about photography is it gives me the opportunity to do the opposite of that. You know, I'm always looking out. I'm looking out at other people. My dad used to shoot. You know, when I was a kid, he'd shoot local bands, and he'd shoot black and white, develop it in the kitchen. You know, in fact, I'm going to do an exhibition with him in February, which is going to be great. You know, 10 shots of his and 10 shots of mine. I'm digging that. But that was, you know, for me, that was what photography was. That was the only real experience I had of photography. Subsequently, of course, I've learned, you know, a vast amount of the history of photography, and I'm making a point of studying it and writing about it and understanding, you know, maybe in a way where I fit into this kind of linear history of documentary working in England about, you know, in the UK, and where it fits in. That's fascinating in itself. But no, certainly no. I've never really made an aesthetic choice about black and white or colour. When I first started shooting black and white, it was a real simple answer. My monitor was bust.
I read that.
So you know, I couldn't shoot colour. So you know, that came to a point where last year I shot over 200 colour frames, put a website up. You're an idiot if you shoot if you shoot one thing and then you have people that say, well, you know, I like the idea of the stories, but I don't like black and white, so I'm not going to tune out. Well, part of my function is to make sure people want to see the stories, because there's an important thing there's something far more important than my notions of aesthetic, or you know, it's why I don't look at it as art. If it was art, I would probably care more if people weren't looking at it from my input, but my input, my creative input, my ideas about art and aesthetic are meaningless in relation to how important it is that these stories get shared.
Have you been surprised by the attention? And is that attention uncomfortable when perhaps that wasn't the initial reason? You're giving a voice to others, but suddenly your voice is attracting the attention.
That's a good question. I mean, there's two answers. I mean, one is part of course. If you work in a medium where you know that the end result is that you need people, or you want people to experience the story. You know, if I'm the conduit, I'm also in some way the facilitator, because I could make a great story and then I could do nothing with it. And for me, you know, there's so much work done or made before the shutter's pressed and then afterwards, because you could make a great photograph, you could spend 6 months working on a great story, but if you don't then put the work in to get it seen, I feel like I'm letting the people within the stories down. That's part of my responsibility. That's part of, in a way, it feels a bit like a debt, and a debt that I constantly have to repay. Because
in a bizarre way, you're almost a publicist.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's good. That's a good way of putting it. I am. I live in a constant state of just being humbled by people that are so brave in sharing such often explicit details about their life. That is the fuel for me to kind of combat my own reservations about like photo celebrity or photographers as celebrity, which I despise. It's I was and still am really wary of drawing any kind of praise away from the thing that's really important. The thing that's really important are the people that are sharing the stories. A plumber doesn't need a medal for fixing a sink well. But for me, and this comes from personal experience, because a lot of the things that a lot of the people in these stories have endured, I have. Drank too much, self-harms, went a little bit crazy under the stress and the trials of surviving as a carer. And that's the tip of a big iceberg, just personally. So I know that if anyone was to walk into my life at my lowest, they would be able to take a snap judgment, and that would be me. But I know the whole story. So in turn, that's the one thing that's informed me about what I should do as a documentarian, if for want of a better word, with all of the people that I work with. It isn't just a snapshot. It has to be the full story. Without that, you're just inviting people to make judgments. And it shouldn't be about judgments, it should be really about explanations.
Take me to the green valley and lay the sod on me. Play music to deaden the clods as they fall. As I walked out in the streets of Laredo, as I walked down in Laredo one day, I spied a young cowboy all wrapped in white linen, all wrapped in white linen, and as cold as clay.